Hello, everyone, and welcome to Super Podcast Action Committee, episode 136, the Coughing and Hacking Edition. Andrew Eisen here, and with me is a very sickly Zachary Knight. How you doing, Zachary?
Oh, I'm all right. I'm not sick. I'm just my allergies have decided to attack me head on this week, and so I'm just like dying here.
I hear you. I get the random sniffles too. I'm having sympathy sniffles now.
Well, it's like it's not so much sniffles. It's just like my sinuses are just congested, and it's like it really hit me yesterday. Like the past couple of days has been pretty bad, but yesterday it just all of a sudden just attacked my sinuses, and they've been all congested and draining and stuff, and it's been terrible. So not too happy, but otherwise I'm all right.
Well, other than snuffleupagusing, been playing any games this week?
This week I haven't been playing games. I've actually been making games this week. I'm prepping for an event next weekend. It's Super BitCon here in Oklahoma City. There's a group called the Oklahoma Retro Gamers Society. It's just a group of people who like to get together and talk about retro games, play them together, and trade and sell games to each other and stuff. And last year they decided they wanted to hold a convention. Just let collectors and sellers and stuff get together and under one roof and basically make a big event of it. And it went so well that they've expanded it this year. They've expanded the show floor. They've gone from a single day to 2 days, and they've got game developers, game retailers, and they've got panels going on about game development and game collecting and all kinds of cool stuff. So it's a really, really cool event. I missed it last year. I was unable to go to it. I really wanted to go to it last year, but I missed. And so this year I actually got a table, and so I'm going to be there as Divine Knight Gaming. And so this week I've been prepping some game demos to be able to display at the event. I want to get a couple of games running on the Ouya, set that up with a TV so that people can play the game demos while they're at our booth. And then my brother and I, we're going to be there, and we're going to do a game jam over that weekend. So while we're at the event, we're going to be making a game over those 2 days. And so hopefully by Sunday afternoon, we'll have a game for people to play for, when they, brand new game that they can play. Sunday, hopefully they'll be able to at least play the early builds, but by Sunday afternoon, evening, it's going to be a complete game. So that's going to be really fun. But this week has been mostly spent prepping those demos, and I actually made a full game this week. Took me 2 days, and it's just a simple vertical shooter, but I managed to get a lot of things in there that I didn't get in the last time I made a vertical shooter, because I made a vertical shooter January of last year, and all it was just monsters appeared and you shot them. You moved your little dragon around and shot the monsters. Nothing shot you back, but eventually the monsters overwhelmed you and they touched you and you died and the game was over. But with this one, I've added, I've got 5 different enemy types, and so each one has their own unique behavior. And then I've got lives, shields, and power-ups. So you start off just shooting 1 shot at a time, then you get a power-up, shoot 2, and then another one, and you shoot 3. And so I think for making the game over a course of 2 days, probably a total of 10 hours of development time, managed to make a feature complete vertical shooter. So really cool. So I'm really excited about that.
Cool. You better be careful though. You better be careful though, because someone might have the copyright on vertical shooters.
Probably
all of them, the entire genre. Yeah. Or someone has patented vertical shooter. So it's like, no, mine goes off at slightly a 1 degree angle, so it's not totally vertical.
Yeah, I think the only thing it's really missing is a lot more enemy types, actual levels, and where you can go through level by level, and it doesn't have a high score list. It keeps track of your most recent best score, but I don't have like a full list, like a top 10 list of high scores. But yeah. But yeah,
Alright.
so I just gotta get that prepped to play on the Ouya, because right now you just play it with the keyboard. But once I get controller support and get it exported to the Ouya, that would be really awesome.
Awesome.
So, how's your week been?
I'm looking for a new place to live, so I'm glad my hair is long because I can grab it and pull it out of stress.
Yeah.
Um, I actually just checked out a place today, which has the reason I'm moving is because the place I'm in is increasing my rent $150 a month. So this is a 405 square foot studio apartment, 72 square feet of which is the balcony. So I figure, yeah, I'm not paying $13.30 a month for a small studio when I could pay less than that for a one bedroom. So I actually looked at a one
You can
bedroom
move to
today.
Oklahoma and pay less than that and get a 5 bedroom.
Yeah, I know. Pretty much anywhere other than San Diego, New York, and San Francisco. And oddly enough, I just applied for a job in San Francisco. IGN, in fact, they have an opening for a games editor. So,
Nice.
basically playing video games, making videos about video games, being an on-camera personality, talking about video games. I'm like, hey, maybe
There you
just cut my
go.
hair and I could do it. So maybe if IGN hires me, like this week, that would be really good timing. I could
Yeah.
just go straight to San Francisco. Um, but the room I looked at today was a one bedroom. It had the weirdest layout I'd seen yet. Um, you walk in the door, and you can
Mhm.
to the right is the kitchen, straight ahead is the bedroom, and to the left is the bathroom. But the thing is you can walk through the kitchen and out into the living room, or straight from the door and then turn right and go into the living room, or straight from the door and turn left into the bathroom, and then turn right and go straight into the bedroom again. So it's built in this like figure eight that I I walked through and was like, whoa, we've warped space in here somehow. Um,
I think it's just you're used to the fact that you just walk in and there's everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
I am used to just studio apartment where it's just room. So
It's like
uh,
the only door in your apartment goes to the bathroom. It's like,
yeah,
yeah,
the
it's
only door
totally
there's a
different.
door to the bathroom, and there's a door out. Um, I finished my script for my Anita Sarkeesian video, and working on
Nice.
memorizing it because I am a verbose son of a gun, and it's really
Oh
long.
no.
It's like 14. I think it's 1,400 words. Um, and I've got about this much down to about here memorized. Uh, I should probably invest in a
Man.
teleprompter or something because this is a
I,
pain in the
I I
ass.
remember I remember my memorization days. Like back in high school, I used to memorize stuff all the time, and I gave up on it after high school was over. It's like
Ah,
anytime I give a speech or a talk somewhere, I just jot down notes and then wing the whole thing. It's like I've written out speeches and talks before, like everything that I want to say, and then I just end up highlighting the key points and then just winging the rest of it, because
mhm.
it's just like that's the way I'm comfortable speaking. Of course I'll stumble over words and sit there and just like, oh, what was that word, that kind of stuff, but still, that's the way I'm comfortable speaking to the public.
I'm comfortable doing both. Doing the podcast. I have a couple series I do on my YouTube channel, like the Q and Andrew, where those are unscripted. I'm just sitting down and talking, answering a question in that particular series. But I like being a writer too. I like I like script. I like following a script. I like
Yeah.
crafting my words and thoughts and not just going. then again, you watch someone like Jenna Marbles, who has millions and millions of subscribers, and she probably outlines her stuff, but I don't think she's scripting, because if you watch her stuff, it's say a couple sentences, cut, say a couple sentences, cut, say a couple sentences, cut, and it's built like that. So I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure she's organizing her thoughts, maybe writing an outline, then sits in front of a camera, says everything she wants to say, and then edits it together. Just cutting out the uhs and ahs and where she retakes stuff. And it's like,
Yeah.
so you can do that, but I don't know. I'm not calling her
Yeah.
unprofessional. It's just I prefer to have the flow of an unbroken sight line and actually going through the through the whole thing.
Yeah. Because I know what you're talking about, because there's a number of other YouTubers that I've watched that do the same thing, where it's just like multiple cuts and stuff, and yeah, it can get distracting, but if it's done well, then it's really, it's fine watching.
Yeah.
But yeah, Z2400 recommend says that you should just read your script off the monitor screen like a teleprompter.
Yeah, a teleprompter really isn't that hard to build. Basically, you put a monitor of some sort. You could even use an iPad, which I don't have a tablet, on a flat surface. So you have something that's emitting light, emitting your script, and then you put a piece of glass at a 45-degree angle, and the camera behind it pointing through. Just put a cloth over it so it doesn't reflect light, and the camera shoots through the glass, and the script, bounces off the glass and into your eyeballs. So you can, as long as you're far enough away, like 10 to 15 feet, you don't see the eyes moving back and forth. Probably wouldn't be able to do it in this place because I don't think this room is 15 feet in either direction, but maybe in my next place. It's something I might think of, because this script that I'm working on now, I'd love to be able to shoot it tomorrow, but I don't think I'll have the whole thing memorized by tomorrow. So probably later in the week or next weekend I'll do that one. So anyway, welcome Viper, who made it to the beginning of the show for a change. Z2400.
Yes. Matthew,
Trusty Gem.
And then anybody else that we don't see.
Yeah, and Matthew says that I should give up writing because written content is dying. Yeah, well, I have a blog, but I don't do it as much because I prefer, every time I start writing a blog, I'm like, this would be a better video and it would be more entertaining, and I end up doing a video even though it's like 3 or 4 times the work. Matthew also says good luck at my applying for an IGN job because they're highly competitive. Don't I know it? I've been freelancing for IGN for 9 years, something like that, and I've been very close several times to being hired on full time there, but not close enough.
Well, considering they're one of the biggest names in video game news, they probably have like 100 applicants every day.
Oh yeah, I'm competing with lots and lots of people. Let's say I lost a job to Andre Seegers, who is now at Game Explain. Lost a job to what's her Stephanie? Can't remember her last name. But we challenged each other to a water noodle death match. So, except she doesn't work at IGN anymore, so that's probably not going to happen. Stephanie Lee, not sure where she went off to, yeah. So I've been up to IGN a few times. I've met a lot of the people there. Real cool bunch of people. It's not like IGN is the only one. There's a lot of great organizations, and what I find really attractive about IGN and working for organizations like that is being a Nintendo fanboy, but a video game fanboy. Where I work, I'm a quality assurance analyst at an inventory company, and I make sure that all of our proprietary software and hardware works correctly. Basically, I tell our programmers and engineers everything they've done wrong. So I'm a well-liked guy. But there's a bunch of dorks like me at work who love video games and movies and anime and stuff like that. But it's not really a place where you can sit and play games with each other. And the Nintendo mobile thing, which we'll talk about here directly, happened, and there wasn't really anyone I could excitedly squee with, but when I'm at IGN, I found that the times I'm at IGN, I am with people of a like mind, and I can complain about getting 99.9% in Lego Harry Potter and running into a bug that keeps me from getting that last 0.1%. And people know what I'm talking about and sympathize. I try to do that at work, and people are like, okay, sorry. But still, I do freelance for IGN on a regular basis, and I write for Game Politics, of course, and I do my silly YouTube videos, so time permitting. But it's really a blast. Matthew says, so QA, ouch. Yeah, QA. And it can be a little annoying because it's like, okay, here's the pre-release thing, and you're like, okay, all right, now it's fine. And then it's like, okay, send it to the test system. All right, now I have to test the whole thing again. It's like, okay, now release it. I got to test the whole thing again. If I find anything wrong at any of those steps, back to the start. So,
Yeah.
So okay. Also been playing Valkyria Chronicles, which I'm loving that game. I'm on chapter 14, I think.
Wow. Yeah, you're ahead of me now.
Which I failed twice. Oh, you're not that far?
No, I haven't played in a couple of months, so
okay.
I think I'm in the middle of chapter 11.
Yeah, here's
12. I don't remember.
Here's something that you probably need to realize that in chapter 14. Unlike every other battle in the game thus far, your starting point is not a base. You just kind of start in the middle of nowhere. Your job is to capture a base in the center of the map, and then more bad guys appear. That base in the center of the map becomes your primary base, where if any of the bad guys capture that base, you lose. And I didn't realize that the first time that one, I didn't have my own base, and two, this was now the primary base, so I left it completely unguarded. Because I figured, if someone captured it, whatever, I'd go kill them and capture it again later. Nope. And that's a long mission, too. I'm like, son of a gun!
Yeah, those, I usually I have a tendency to leave my bases unguarded, too, and because, for one, by the time you reach the next base, you have cleared out all the enemies, and so it's like, you've got this one area that you're facing. It's like, okay, you're just moving all your guys in that direction, and so you're not really worrying about it, and so I can understand why that would be frustrating, because you get to the center of the map and then suddenly there's enemies all around you.
Yeah.
And
it's also the first level where enemies infinitely respawn, because I had this, because there's 6 enemies that go poof, and they show up in the bottom corner. I'm like, okay, and I park both of my tanks right there, and I just massacre them. I'm like, yeah, I'm awesome. And then I reset my people for the next stage, and then on the enemy's turn, it's just, boop, and all 6 of them just pop. I'm like, what? I didn't know they were all coming, but there's no point in killing them if they're just going to refresh every round. Matthew asks, is that the desert mission, the trench one? I mean, it's the one after the trench one, so the Nasir Plains Part 2? I forget what the plains are called, but yeah, the one with all the trenches is Part 1, and this is Part 2 of that. So Z2400 asked if I got Codename Steam. No, I didn't get it, but I did play the demo, and it's quite similar to
Valkyria Chronicles.
Oh, also the chapter 14, the enemy turn takes forever because there's so many guys. I mean, it took literally like 3.5 minutes. I mean, at least you got to watch each guy do stuff. That's the problem with Codename Steam, is sometimes the enemy's turns are really long, but often you don't
have no idea where they are. Yeah.
or even a shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. You know, but
Yeah. It's one of the. I remember playing um, Heroes of Might and Magic 3, and
okay.
usually like the only time you ever see the enemies is if they're within the area of the map that you can view, like that you've been to. If they're outside of that, it's just like it's over like that. Like if no enemies show up in your line of sight, their turns over in seconds, and so it's always nice, because it's like the enemies know exactly, or the computer knows exactly what they're doing. So it's all it is setting a couple of flags and in the changing a couple of bits in the data, and then you're done, and it's off to your turn again. So that was always nice. But they've made these modern games, to where they gotta they gotta get them realistic, where if it takes you 10 minutes to do your turn, it's going to take the enemy 10 minutes to do their turn.
Yeah. Z24 also asks if I'm hyped for Splatoon. That's really going. Yes. As a Nintendo fan, I find the aesthetic and art style and character design really appealing. I'm really liking what they're showing. I think it looks really cool as a multiplayer mode. I'm not a multiplayer gamer though, so if I get the game, it's really going to depend heavily on the single player component. If it's a strong, robust single player experience, I'll definitely get it because I'm really liking the look of it.
I don't know, just based on what I've seen, it looks like it's going to be primarily a single or a multiplayer game.
Mm-hmm.
And
that
from my perspective, that's perfectly fine, because my kids they love playing De Blob for the Wii, and so it's it's going to be a similar experience, but it's, instead of one against all, or all against all, it's going to be team based, and so I think that'll be really cool. So
THQ, we hardly knew you.
Yeah.
All right, Ricardo Moriera on YouTube asks, "What the heck is happening to your hair? It's growing and I haven't cut it."
Yeah.
This is just what my hair does when it's long and dry. I mean, because I get out of the shower and I brush it straight back, and it's just lays back and it looks nice, and then as it dries, but really within like a couple of minutes, just bing, 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 just curls start poking out on the sides, and then just. So yeah, it's so what is it doing? Nothing attractive, but I'm stressed right now, so it's nice to have a good bunch of hair to hold on to and tug. Okay, let us move on with the actual podcast here, 25 minutes into the show. And we will discuss the poll this week, because Nintendo dropped a humongous bombshell on Tuesday. Yes, it did. Let me close the poll. Essentially, Nintendo had a investors meeting and said, hey, you know how we've staunchly refused to put games on mobile, even though gamers and investors and journalists and fans and industry analysts and everyone has been telling us for years that was a really good idea, and we said nuh-uh, nuh-uh, nuh-uh. Then we changed our mind. We're going to have stuff on mobile starting this year, and we've partnered with company DNA, spelled D-E-N-A.
See, I've always just pronounced it Dina. I'm like,
yeah, from what I understand, it is actually DNA though, but I keep wanting to call it Dina or Dana. I don't know Dana, but or DNA, but apparently it's a mobile game company, and they're
one of the big names in mobile. So
yeah, but I'm not really into mobile games, so I don't know them. But anyway, Nintendo is partnering with them. They are they both bought a percentage. They both bought a certain amount of money, like. I forget what the dollar total was, but say each one bought $1 million of the other's shares. For Nintendo, that means they acquired 10% of DNA. For DNA, that means they acquired like 1.5% of Nintendo, something like that. So they both bought the same amount, the same dollar amount of each other's shares. Nintendo picking up about 10%, and DNA picking up 1.5 or something. So DNA is going to be responsible for a lot of the back end and the service side of mobile, while Nintendo's primarily going to be responsible for
the actual games.
The game content. Nintendo also says that and I haven't closed the poll yet because I'm a filthy liar. Where is it? There it is. Okay, closed. Nintendo says that it's not going to port existing games to mobile. It's going to develop new games for mobile, although it will still be using all of its IP. So Mario, Zelda, Metroid, Pokemon, Ice Climbers, Earthbound. Yeah, right. So you can see, we'll see all the Nintendo IP on mobile, but they're not going to just port 3DS or eShop games to mobile. They're going to make experiences tailored to mobile, for mobile, which I think is the absolute right approach to that, because as Nintendo and really everyone else has been saying, Santiago Kali says it was 180-some million, the stock price exchange. Yeah, something.
Oh, wow.
I think that's right, because I was thinking 180,000. No, that doesn't sound much. 180 million? Is that right? I don't know. 180 million yen? Dollars? I don't know. I don't remember. But,
yeah.
So, also, this is going to, this partnership is going to extend to creating an infrastructure for an entire back end that encompasses probably system-wide user accounts for the Wii U, the 3DS, the mobile, Miiverse, the successor to Club Nintendo. DNA is going to be providing the support and back end for whatever systems encompass all of this stuff. Also, the quality of life stuff that Nintendo has talked very, very briefly and vaguely about so far. So this week's poll question asks, how do you feel about Nintendo IP on mobile devices? And we had 230 people vote this week. 23% said, bring it on. 17% said, do not want. 36%, which was the winner, said, I'm taking a wait-and-see approach. 5% said, well, if anyone can get me to play mobile games, it's Nintendo. And 20% said, whatever. So, Zachary, how did you vote?
I voted, whatever. It's just... As much as I love Nintendo, and I do love Nintendo, I love all their franchises, at least all the ones I've played. I've never played Animal Crossing, and I've never played Pikmin, and a few others out there, but like, I love Metroid, I love Mario, and I love Zelda, and I guess those are the big three, really. Because I've never played Star Fox and F-Zero and any of that, but no, I love their games and everything, and I can see the potential for certain games on there. Take Dr. Mario. That's a very good fit for mobile, I think. Or something themed along the lines of Dr. Mario, and a bunch of their other games too. And there's a bunch of existing games that that I think they could just reskin with Mario, Zelda, or Metroid or whatever, and call it a day, and it'd probably make them tons of money. But it's just, I'm just not that excited.
Flappy Lakitu.
Yeah, there we go.
Because I mean, those were Mario pipes.
So. Yeah, but yeah, it's just I can see the potential in it, and I know that they're going to do good stuff, but it's just mobile's just not something I get excited about. Yes, I have my mobile phone, and I've got tablets, and I play games on them and stuff, but they're just. I haven't found an experience on a mobile device that really says, this is why I need a mobile phone and this is where I want to play games. I've played a number of games, extensively on these things, but it's just, it's like one or two games out of the millions of games out there, and so I've probably played. Yeah, I couldn't even tell you like the mere fraction of games that I've actually played on mobile devices. I think the most amount I've ever spent on mobile games is through the Humble Bundle, and I usually paid like $5 or so for each bundle, just to get all the games. Sometimes $10, depending on what they have as the bonus game, like where you have to pay the $10. But yeah, it's just. It's just not something that really excites me.
Yeah, I have to admit, I don't play mobile games either. Not that I'm too good for mobile games or anything like that. It's just not the venue I want to play games. When I play I don't play games on my handheld much either. I have the handheld just because there's some really good games on it, and my YouTube fans were nice enough to help me buy it. But when I game, I want to sit in my chair in front of my TV and game. I don't want to poke at a little screen, which unfortunately I had to do with Kirby and the Rainbow Curse. But Z2400 brings up an interesting point. Do you think while they're not porting console or handheld games to mobile, do you think they will port their eventual mobile games back to the handheld or the console?
I think that depends. First on the success of the game.
Mm-hmm.
If the game is really successful on mobile, then that increases its chances. And the second thing is how well the game will translate to a system that has buttons. Both the Wii U and the 3DS have a touch screen, but only the Wii U has a touch screen with the resolution necessary to house a mobile game on it. The 3DS touchscreen is not the same resolution as most mobile phones, and so they would really have to tweak the layout and the gameplay in order to fit the 3DS.
Also, if the mobile game is multi-touch, it's not going to work on either system.
Yeah, and that's the other problem is that the 3DS and the Wii U are only single touch. And so that will cause some issues if they have any multi-touch ones. But again, like I said, it depends on what the game is. They probably won't port too many of them, but if they do, it will probably like 99.9% of the time be a port to the 3DS rather than the Wii U. But yeah.
See, I think if you buy a mobile game. And assuming that this is the Nintendo Network ID is persistent across the Wii U, the 3DS, and mobile, if it plays on 3DS and or Wii U, it should be free on 3DS and or Wii U. So you buy a mobile game, you like it, great. Hey, you can play it for free on the Wii U or the 3DS if you want to buy one. I'm just saying there's all these other really awesome games in these IPs that you're enjoying. And that's one of the things that Nintendo's trying to do with this, too, and something us armchair analysts have been yelling at for years, is to use mobile to reach that audience and bring them over here where all the awesome games are.
Yeah.
Which is not to say there aren't awesome games on the PS4, Xbox One. There's one or two.
There's a couple. Yeah, at least none that I'm interested in. But at least not at this point. I think it took me 4 years before I got a PS3, like 4 years into its life, and then I finally got a PS3 and bought a bunch of games from the back catalog. But
I've got a list of 25 games on the PS3 that I want to play.
Oh, I still have like a list of like 50 games on the PS3 that I want to play, and I've got 20 of them already. But yeah,
I'm about
it's But yeah, I think using mobile as a marketing arm for the Wii U and the 3DS could work, as long as it's not like in your face or anything. It's like,
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
play this game. Okay, you played for 30 minutes. If you want to play the rest of it, buy a 3DS and play it on the 3DS. No, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
But it's like, but if you make a really, really good Mario themed game on the mobile device and say,
Yeah,
if you want to
Mario
play
Endless
more
Runner.
Mario stuff, get if you want to play more Mario, check out the Wii U and the 3DS. As long as you're getting a complete game, I think it's gonna be fine.
Well, I think we can trust. Nintendo is not EA, so I'm fairly optimistic with what Nintendo decides to put on mobile.
They're not Zynga either. And that's one of the big concerns that a lot of people have had in the past when this has been talked about, is that when people think Nintendo entering mobile markets, they think of microtransactions and all this stuff, like Control Alt Delete, the comic. They published a comic where it's like, it's Mario with rescuing Toad, and he's like, "I'm sorry, Mario, your princess is in another castle. But if you'd like to buy more princesses, we've got one princess for 99 cents, 3 princesses for $5, and 5 princesses for $10. Something stupid like that." And I'm looking at that, and I'm like, that is not at all what Nintendo entering mobile means. That's what Zynga would do if it acquired Nintendo IPs for mobile. That's not what Nintendo would do on mobile. So yeah, I think Nintendo is going to do well and make good games. I would say that they will probably be more like Square, but without the ports. Square does a lot of ports of their games, like their old Final Fantasy games and stuff. But Square does a bunch of really creative stuff. Like they did Theater Rhythm, which also has a 3DS port, I believe.
And they do a bunch of complete ripoffs that they should be ashamed of.
Yes, they do that too, but I think that's more of just a lack of quality control in a lot of their smaller development teams. But yeah, Square does some really creative stuff with their mobile offerings, and it's a lot of stuff that they don't have and they don't offer for their other for consoles and stuff. So I think it could work out really well.
Now Z2400 brings up another good point, and that is. Will Nintendo mobile games be so damn good, because Nintendo is so damn good, that people will get their Nintendo fix on mobile and have no reason to buy a Wii U or a 3DS, even though it's not going to be the same games on mobile that will be on the consoles. The experiences will be just so blissfully gaming awesome. It's like, I'm spent. I need nothing more than this.
Oh,
I think they may want to tone down the Nintendo awesomeness just a tad.
Golly. I think for a percentage of the mobile market that will be true. How big of percentage that will be, I couldn't claim to guess, but I think there will be a subset, and a large enough subset of mobile users, primarily mobile users, who either already own one of those other systems or have had a desire to own one of those systems, and they will finally decide that, yes, I'm going to make that jump. And there will be a percentage that will learn about the Wii U and the 3DS through their mobile game and go. But I don't know how big of a percentage any of those groups would be. But
I think if there is a mobile gamer out there who does not own a Nintendo system, but is playing his Flappy Lakitu and Mario Endless Runner or Animal Crossing on iPhone, and he's like, this is the this is all I need out of Nintendo gaming. I need nothing more than this. I think this gamer was probably never going to buy a Wii U or a 3DS in the first place.
Probably not.
But at least Nintendo is still getting whatever the price of the mobile games that gamer is paying for. So,
Yeah.
they're making some money that they would not have made otherwise.
They're winning either way. It's just, to what degree are they winning? And so, yeah, I agree that, if somebody's going to play Nintendo IPs on the mobile but not get anything else, Nintendo's still making out, and those people are still getting exposed, and it might come along the line that, a year, 2 years later, they might decide, what, I'm actually wanting a console now. What should I get? Well, I like playing the Nintendo stuff on my mobile phone. Let's go and get a Wii U.
Or they might say, let's get a Nintendo NX. Because this was the other, not exactly a big announcement, but something that Nintendo kind of that Satoru Iwata kind of snuck in there because he had to. Because, if he didn't, for those of you who don't know, Nintendo announced or confirmed that it is working on a next dedicated games console, currently codenamed the Nintendo NX. Or just the NX, Nintendo X, whatever. And Satoru Iwata did this because if he didn't, people would be like, "Oh, Nintendo's abandoning hardware and going straight on the mobile." They're gonna No. This is in addition to handheld and console. Nintendo is still working on a next generation system, dubbed the NX. Although we don't know what it's going to be yet, Nintendo says it won't have anything to say on the matter until 2016.
Yeah. Santiago Kali, I just noticed the comment here, but Santiago mentions, Nintendo making something along the lines of Metroid Pinball or Angry Mario or Zelda Crush. Wasn't there already a Metroid Pinball?
Yes, there was, and it was good.
Because I know there was a Kirby Pinball and a Sonic Pinball.
I think it was. I seem to remember 2 screens, so I think it was DS, and it was actually really good. And you're right. It's probably Santiago Kali, because I was reading it as Santiago Kali. I'm like, no, that's probably not it. So we've had some discussions in the Game Politics Shout box about what we think the NX might be. Is it the next? Is it the successor to the Wii U? Is it the next line in the handhelds? Or is it the fabled console handheld hybrid? Now, I personally think that it is the successor to the Wii U, not exactly the hybrid that a lot of people seem to be hoping for, but something that's very closely tied to the 3DS, mobile devices, the quality of life stuff Nintendo's talked about, and the successor to Club Nintendo. I think we've talked about this on the podcast before. I
think we've had conversations about a new Nintendo console and what they might do.
Yeah. So I don't see a full hybrid in as such that essentially you get this, only it's portable. So you have this is your game console. You bring it home and it beams stuff to the TV and you play it on the TV and it's like, okay, then you put it in your pocket and you go and you play the same game. While that sounds lovely, the problem I have with it is, one, it sounds prohibitively expensive, and two, you are also limiting yourself both from a technology, a power standpoint, and a form factor standpoint by the handheld. I don't want it. I like big meaty controllers that I can wrap my hands around and comfort. I don't want a 3DS type of thing as a controller. I wouldn't want that as my home system controller, even if I could take it with me and play it on the bus, which I never ride. So you never know with Nintendo, but I think I think whatever it is, I think there will be a lot more of what people want to see with cross-platform integration, universal user accounts. I think that is the way that they're going to, Voltron together. And one of
Yeah.
those things that I find the name kind of interesting, the NX, because Japan uses the X or cross a lot. Street Fighter cross Tekken. You know,
Yeah.
or what's the other one that we're still waiting for? Shin. Fire Emblem Cross Shin Megami Tensei. Is that the
I don't know.
uh, yeah. Oh, Santiago Cali actually has it over here. SMT Cross Fire Emblem. So yeah, I'm not ripping you off. I was actually saying this before I saw your comment. So that could be, is this the, the Nintendo Cross? It's the handheld cross console, cross mobile, cross everything. It's yeah. Maybe it is something like that. So,
Yeah.
but
Well, I definitely think it's going to be a successor to the Wii U. The 3DS is still doing too well, and they have so little competition that there's really no reason to replace their handheld at this point.
Yeah.
The Vita is such a joke for competition that they don't even, I doubt Nintendo even cares about it at this point. The only real competition for the 3DS is mobile, and since they're getting into the mobile market, I don't think they would release a new system and cannibalize the trajectory that the 3DS is on.
Oh, yeah.
But the Wii U is at a point where they have to be thinking of the next home console because they have almost zero third-party support. They have their sales have been lagging since launch, and developers are demanding a more powerful system. If they want third-party support, they're going to have to make a more powerful system, and I think at this point, the PS4 and the Xbox One are still young enough, even like a year or two down the line, they're still going to be young enough that the NX would be able to enter that market and compete at a level that would make it worthwhile to replace the Wii U. But so that's why I think it's going to be the next home console. Now, I think that yeah, they might integrate more cross-play between mobile and 3DS, where you can integrate, have data that transfers between the three, and even use your 3DS as a controller if you want to. Kind of like how they've done. They did the Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles and Zelda Four Swords on the GameCube. Where they would have games that play with the 3DS if you want to play it with 3DS. I think forcing people to buy a 3DS to play a game is totally stupid, unless they want the 3DS to play a game on the 3DS. But yeah, I think they would probably bring a lot of cross-platform connectivity. So.
Another thing it could be is Nintendo Cross or NX or whatever could refer to a family of systems. It could be the NX Home and the NX Portable and the NX Mobile. It might be so tied together that it has the same branding.
Yeah.
Nintendo says it's not talking about it until 2016, which means we're almost certainly not going to see this any earlier than fall of 2016, which would be 4 years for the Wii U, which would be one of the shortest console cycles we've seen. They're usually about 5 years. 3DS came out in 2011, so that would be 5 years for the 3DS. Not a bad run for that one. But if you think about them, they're going to talk about. They'll probably just talk about it. It probably depends on if Wii U completely crashes and burns in the next year, they might up the timetable. But if Wii U, if Zelda does fine, and Splatoon does fine, and Xenoblade Chronicles X, and the 2016 Wii U sleep looks great, Nintendo will probably just briefly mention it in a investor conference call. and then we, maybe pay it some lip service during E3, and then we won't really see it until E3 2017, and it releases fall of 2017, which would be a full 5 years for Wii U, which is average for a console anyway, and puts it enough years past the launch of the PS4 and the Xbox One, where people would probably be accepting of something new at that point, because it would have been 4 years at that point anyway. So people will start looking to the future. Of course, this is all we know is NX, these two letters. It's all we know. So this is all complete speculation, but it's fun.
Yes, it is very fun. But it was only last year that people were circulating those leaked specs for the next Nintendo system. It's like where it's got like 500 gigs of RAM and a 50-core processor and all kinds of stupid things, and it's just like, yeah, Nintendo's not doing that. but yeah, it's a. But yeah, it's fun to speculate based off of a single sentence in a an hour-long call with investors. So always fun.
Matthew points out that the original Xbox, which you have to say because if you say the Xbox One, people think you're talking about the current one. Why is Wii U
Microsoft.
confusing to people, and yet people can keep Xbox, Xbox 360, and Xbox One straight, but Wii U is confusing? Come on, you pains in the butts. Anyway, he points out that the original Xbox was 4 years. That's true. It was 2001 to 2005. Z2400 says Game Boy Color was 98 to 2001. Well, I'll tell you which console was shorter, the Virtual Boy, because that was fall of 96 or something like that to about January of the next year.
I don't
think
think it's fair to to include consoles that died after that generation. It's like saying that, including the Dreamcast in that list. Oh, the Dreamcast only had a 5-year lifespan or whatever, because it's like that's the last console in that line.
Or the N-Gage.
Yeah, or the N-Gage. Yeah. But, like the Game Boy Color, though, I really don't consider that a successor to the Game Boy. That was more of a transitory console.
Yeah.
It was a Game Boy through and through. It had I think there was a total of 100 games that were on Game Boy Color only. But it's like they went from that to the Advance, and it really, the Game Boy Color was just transitory. And it's like the 3DS and the new 3DS,
or the DS, DS Lite, DSi, that kind of thing. Yeah. So
Z24 doesn't count because it's not out in Europe.
Okay. And that's in all caps, so I'll put my hands up on that one. Okay, I have just struck the hornet's nest, thinking it was a piñata. So, all right, now let us move on to a new topic, because I could talk about this forever.
Oh yes,
but we won't. So we will move on to a new topic, and that is Final Fantasy 15, a game that looks really interesting, actually. So there is if you get Final Fantasy Type 0 HD, I love Square Enix's naming conventions on these games. It comes with a demo for Final Fantasy 15. Or rather, it comes with a voucher code for the demo for Final Fantasy 15, which people are putting on eBay for between, last time we looked, $15 to $46. I don't know if anyone... we had this story on Game Politics. I'm not sure if anyone's complaining about this, or if Square Enix said anything like, stop doing that, gosh darn it! But I don't have a problem with that. I mean, if you buy Final Fantasy
Type
0 or Type O...
I think it's 0,
is it
but...
O or 0? Is it like blood type? I have no idea.
I think it's a 0, but everybody just says O, because it's like that's what you do. But yeah, I don't think anybody's complaining about it. I haven't read any reports that anybody has sent a cease and desist or anything to eBay over this. But it is something that a lot of people have. A lot of a lot of lay people, not like people at Square Enix or at eBay or lawyers or anything have really complained about. But I think there are some people out there who are complaining about people selling these things, but it's not that big of an uproar, at least not that I can find. But it is a very interesting thing, and really this goes back in the comments on the Game Politics article. I mentioned that that a similar thing happened in let's see, 2012, where movie studios would put ultraviolet codes, their movie streaming service.
Mhm.
They would put the codes for that in their Blu-ray packs. So the pack would come with a Blu-ray, a DVD, and a code for the movie through ultraviolet. And there were people who were who would buy the movies and then sell the ultraviolet codes for like $5 on eBay, and they were getting takedown notices. Like eBay was getting canceling people's accounts and auctions and stuff because the studios were claiming it was copyright infringement. And I'm of the personal opinion that as long as that person didn't redeem that code, it's fair game for them to sell or give away. That's fair use. That's first sale. It's like, would you make the same complaint if they sold the DVD, if all they wanted was the Blu-ray? Probably not. I doubt very many people would. But for some reason, selling the code for a digital copy when you could just make a digital copy off the DVD or Blu-ray, but still, people are making a big stink out of it, and and that slowly died away because the movie studio stopped using ultraviolet. They switched to something else now, but I don't remember what they're using lately, but I just completely ignore it because I just rip the DVDs anyways.
Yeah, it's kind of like what I was saying earlier about I don't want to play on a mobile phone, I want to play on my TV. It's the same thing with a couple of you see a bunch of DVDs right there. I have some of them who have that extra ultraviolet copy, and I'm like, I've never used this because I don't want to watch it on my phone. I want to watch it on my TV. I have absolutely no interest in watching it on a phone. I mean, maybe if I'm stuck on a plane for 4 hours or something like that, but that is really rare. So,
yeah. I think I think this is really cool. People are they don't have any interest in playing a demo for Final Fantasy 15. They want to have that experience fresh when the game actually releases, because they know they're going to buy it anyways because they bought Type O. It's like they're going to buy Final Fantasy 15 if they're going to buy an HD remake of a PSP title.
Probably.
So yeah, selling it, making $15-20 off of it, because if somebody's that desperate to play Final Fantasy 15 demo, let them.
At least it's better than people who buy 50 amiibos and start hawking them on eBay.
Yeah, see, that's a totally different thing. That's tantamount to scalping. Where they buy something that they know there's a demand and then raising the price in order to make money off of it. The same thing happened with the release of the Wii. 90% of the reason why you couldn't find them on the store shelves is because people were buying them in bulk and selling them on eBay and Craigslist. But this, if they're playing Type O, by all means, do it, because they're paying like $60 for this thing, $40-60. I don't know how much it is, but yeah, I'm all for it. It's capitalism at its finest. You just got to think, Square Enix is probably kicking themselves because they realize that people were willing to pay money to get a demo for a game that's not coming out for 2 years. So it's like, Square Enix is probably like, man, we should just put the demo up on the PSN store and the Xbox store and sold it for $10, and everybody would have eaten it up, and they would have made tons of money, and then still charged them $60 when the game released. But all that said, I haven't played a Final Fantasy title since 10 and 10-2. I haven't touched 12, I haven't touched 13, and I'm never going to play 11, and they're killing the servers for that anyways, and I'm never going to play 14 just because 11 and 14 are MMOs, and I hate that they put them in the numbering system to begin with. I think that was totally stupid. They could have just gone with Final Fantasy MMO, and it would have been happy-go-lucky, fine and dandy. But yeah, they decided to number them.
Yeah,
I'm just rambling.
Yeah, I forgot what I was going to say. Damn, I completely forgot what I was going to say. Oh well. Matthew, I just had to, unfortunately, my the chat box just said you need to log in. I'm like, I was logged in, so I've lost all of the previous chattings. So, oh well. Let's see. Z2400 asked me something like if I ever use off-TV play. No, I don't. And I made a video about that. It's called Wii U Don't Need No TV. So Wii U Don't Need No TV. So that's like 2 years ago. I think I made that video. So
yeah.
Okay, so let us move on to. I think Matthew was asking about Konami. Briefly, there was some Twitter tweets going around where people were thinking that Kojima was, throwing his hands up and like, I'm done working with Konami. Screw Metal Gear and all the people who are looking forward to it. You can all go suck lemons. Konami and Kojima released a statement late last week saying, Kojima said, I want to reassure fans I'm 100% involved and will continue work. Who cares what he said? Basically, Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, will be coming out later this year on everything except Wii U, so chill the hell out. There will be more Metal Gear after that. No one's, at least from Konami, where no one's really sure if Kojima will continue working with Konami post Metal Gear Solid 5 or not. That's kind of unclear, but there will be.
I like the comments.
For Metal Gear.
I like the comments that some people made. It's like Kojima's going to be hitting up Kickstarter to make Mighty Gear Solid 5.
Nice.
Yeah, great callback to the creator of Mega Man doing his Kickstarter for Mighty Number 9, which is, I'm totally stoked to get that game and play it because I am a huge Mega Man X fan. But yeah, I think it's hilarious that people are freaking out over Metal Gear Solid because I've never played one of those games and have absolutely zero desire to play any of them.
Okay, so.
Well, I guess you don't play Metal Gear Solid, you watch Metal Gear Solid, but, that's a totally different story.
Oh, that's unfair. It's half and half. Metal Gear Solid, now to be fair, I've only played the first one, and I've only played the Twin Snakes, the GameCube remake, all the way through, and it's about half and half. It's a 6-hour experience. It's a 3-hour game in a 6-hour experience. The other 3 hours is, cutscenes and codec conversations. And the cutscenes are great. They're fun. And the gameplay is great. It's fun. Not quite enough gameplay and a little too much cutscene. I think if you had the same amount of cutscene with 8 hours of gameplay, I think it would have been.
Well, I think it's one of the recent ones. People were complaining because it was like a 20-minute intro cutscene, 5 minutes of gameplay, another 20 minutes of cutscene, and then you could play for a decent amount of time.
Yeah, that's
or something
4, I think.
Insane like that. I can't stand that. I find myself, watching the intro to RPGs lately and just wanting to skip.
Yeah, never start unless you have got the most dynamite, fascinating story ever. Do not start the game with a 20-minute cutscene. Don't do it.
I'm a big fan of starting a game in the middle of a battle. Like if your game is going to be about battling, you're going to be doing some kind of combat, start the game in the middle of a battle. I think that's probably the easiest way to just dump somebody right into the game and get them excited about playing it. Let them play for like 10 minutes and then go into your intro cutscene.
Yeah. Off the top of my head, Skies of Arcadia does exactly that. You start,
Yeah.
Boarding some pirate ship. It's an airship, but you jump on and start fighting monsters and do all this, and then it gets into establishing where they live in the world and stuff, rather than the, oh no, I've overslept, send your sister to go wake up the protagonist so we can get the story started, kind of thing that happens in a lot of games, even in Link to the Past, I think. But Link to the Past, from what I understand, I haven't played it yet, starts out, it's one of those wake Link up, but it's a very snappy opening. It's people are kidnapping people, run through the castle, that kind of thing. Okami is a game I really quite like, but that opening cutscene is like 20 minutes, and I was like, okay, this is gorgeous. Is there a game here? Do I get to play at any point? I think they. Yeah. Capcom, I think, kind of dropped the ball with the placement of that cutscene. I think they could have made that a bit shorter or moved it somewhere else, because I was bored. Or at least tell me that there's a 20-minute cutscene before I get to any of the gameplay. Because I'm sitting here with the controller, I'm like, anytime, it's like, oh, it's a 20-minute cutscene. Okay, I'll put the controller down and and I'll kick back and enjoy the mini movie. But, okay, let us move on to our final topic, which is actually kind of a big one, and that is about a bunch of copyright shenanigans from the past week. Holy biscuits, did we have a lot of copyright shenanigans this week.
Yes, we did.
Man, like 5 of them in 3 days. Let's start with Creature Academy. This is a... Oops, I'm on the wrong one. That one. This is a webcomic from artist Kevin Conrad Hanna, who he made back in 2011. And let's see, he describes it as, it's about a group of kids who attend a magic school tasked with collecting magic creatures, griffins, basilisk, leviathan, after an epic magic event. Well, a couple months ago, Kabam actually bought another game and brought it over here and released it under the same name, Creature Academy. It's about, according to Hanna, a group of kids who attend a magic school tasked with collecting magic creatures like griffins, basilisk, and leviathan after an epic magic event. So, Hanna says, they could have, if they would have just Googled Creature Academy, they would have seen that Creature Academy already exists as a comic. He's basically saying, just use a different damn name, because I've had this one for years. So, what do you think? Do you think Kabam should use a different name? Or do you think that since one's a video game and one's a comic, even though they're both similar stories...
I think there's room for confusion there, because comics and video games tend to cross. They have a you look at comic readers and video game players, the Gantt chart's going to be like almost a full circle. So I think there's room for confusion there. I've never heard of either one of these until the story came out.
Nor had I.
Yeah, but yeah, I think the similarities between the two really should have tipped Kabam off when it came to this. They should have had somebody on Google, looking this stuff up. But and then at the same time, I can understand Kabam's point of view, where Kevin here hasn't applied for a trademark on his comic title, and so the trademark is up for grabs, and so he kind of pigeonholed himself by not filing that trademark, and from what I understand, he hasn't actually filed for the copyright with the Copyright Office, Library of Congress, which limits his what he could make if he decided to sue Kabam for copyright infringement. Because based on Kevin's comments on this, is that he had been in talks with other game developers about producing a game based on his comic, and those talks dried up once Kabam released their game, and which is a really unfortunate thing. And and if he decides to sue Kabam, and if there's enough similarities between the two between the game story-wise and his comic story-wise, then there is the potential for a copyright judgment in his favor.
Mm-hmm.
But he is limited to only real damages. So like the lost license fee, like an advance on a license, and then royalties, basically, is all he'd be able to get. And then potentially force Kabam into a license. But other than that, he's out any kind of statutory wins in a copyright suit. But still, a license fee and royalties would be pretty nice, for a webcomic creator.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be an uphill fight because even he admits that he doesn't have the resources to dedicate to a lawsuit.
Yeah, he says he's not pursuing legal actions. It's more. It seems from his perspective more along the lines of kind of just not cool, guys. And it also kind of hamstrings him if he wants to make a Creature Academy video game based on his comic. And apparently he's had some offers and some talks with different devs on those fronts.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that one. Moving on.
Oh, and we should mention that Kabam's Creature Academy has been removed from the app stores.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that has anything to do with Kevin's actions or what, but that's apparently a thing that happened after the story broke. So it'd be kind of interesting to actually find out how the two events related to each other. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just want to point out that Simon Belmont is back on the YouTube page and says, Andrew, you look washed up. Go take a shower and shave. Homeless just isn't your style.
Yeah.
I agree. I really do look terrible like this, but I have so much crap going on right now that I just don't care. I am clean, though. I took a shower not 4 hours ago, so yes. All good. Anyway, another thing that happened that same day, we wrote a story about Jeff Minter, who is making an arcade shooter called TXK, and Atari is, are they suing him?
I think they just did some stupid jerk move.
They're blocking his release of TXK because they think it's too similar to Tempest or Tempest 2000, a game that Jeff Minter actually made for Atari for the Jaguar, I think, back in the 90s.
Yeah, I remember Tempest on the Jaguar, actually. I was one of the 5 people who owned one. We bought it secondhand, so...
You kind of had to. That damn thing was expensive.
Yeah. But
so
yeah, Tempest was one of those games we owned.
Yeah, well, that was Tempest 2000. The original Tempest was a arcade game from the very early 80s, and Tempest 2000 was a Atari Jaguar game. And TXK is supposed to be a spiritual sequel to the Tempest series of games. But Atari apparently is having none of that and saying, no, that's just Tempest, you can't do that. And let's see, Atari has made claims, according to Minter anyway, Atari has claimed that he must have stolen actually, let me get the full ones. He must have stolen the code. He's like, I wrote the code.
Can I steal it from my own head? Does that work? I'm just pull it out of this side of my head and put it in this side of my head. It's like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's like I'm stealing it from my own brain, I guess. They say that the music is too similar. All kinds of stuff.
Well, actually, the funny thing is, you mentioned that the music is too similar, and it's really, really sad time in copyright right now, because okay, now I can't even remember the names. Um, the Happy guys, the guys who made that song Happy, um, they were sued by Marvin Gaye, something like that. Golly, now I can't
Marvin
even
Gaye.
remember it. Yeah, and basically because their song had too much of a feel and too much of a presence to this dead guy's songs, they infringed his copyrights, and totally stupid thing, and basically one of their evidence was they took Happy's lyrics and overlaid them on the instrumentals of this other guy's song and said, see, these songs, the lyrics and the music match up really well. That means they infringed on our copyright. It's like, what? That makes absolutely no freaking sense. But some stupid stupid jury members bought the thing. So yeah, I could see Atari deciding to go with that kind of thing because that's now a precedent that they're allowed to use.
Some of the songs use the same chord progression.
Couple of years, yeah, at least until an appeals court knocks down that ruling because the jury was stupid.
So here's what Minter said. He says, I wrote the source code for Tempest 2000 and didn't need to refer to it at all to create TXK. So I stole my own work out of my own brain, I guess. Regarding the soundtrack, says the TXK soundtrack is entirely original and highly acclaimed. It won a Develop Award and went on to #1 on Bandcamp. And apparently Atari is also complaining that the ships in TXK can jump. Like, Atari has some claim to a jumping mechanic.
That's hilarious. I love that.
The game released, I think, a year ago on PS Vita. Recently, it's been coming to PC, PS4, and a few others. So it's kind of weird that Atari is just suddenly getting on Minter's case now. Now, I did look at footage of Tempest 2000 for the Jaguar and TXK, and yeah, it looks like the same game.
Well, and that's what this really boils down to is Atari is at this point where basically it's just a holding company. It's like nobody that currently owns, invests in, or works for Atari owned, invested in, or worked for Atari 20 years ago. Not even 10 years ago. It's traded hands so many times that the people who currently own Atari, the only thing they know to do is to sue over copyright infringement. Because this isn't the first time that they've gone after somebody who's made a game that's too similar to a 20-year-old game of theirs. I believe one of their tank games, somebody was making another one, and it was all vector animations and everything, and they went after these indie developers because the game was too similar to Atari's tank game from 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's the other thing. So it's like, yeah, Atari, it does look really exactly the same, but you haven't done anything with Tempest for over 20 years. Were you ever going to do anything with it? I mean, it's not like he's calling it Tempest.
Yeah.
It's TXK, and I mean, it's supposed to be reminiscent of, in the style of. It would be kind of like, I forget what the name. There's a bunch of X-Rare developers doing a game that's kind of a spiritual successor to Banjo-Kazooie. That'd be like Rare or Microsoft suing them over this game that's completely different. Then again, TXK
or Capcom going after Inafune and over.
Then again, TXK and Tempest 2000 do look pretty much the same. But again, it's one of those games where any of that style is going to look almost exactly the same.
Yeah,
because it's not that complicated of a game. I mean, it's kind of like if you made something that was a spiritual successor to Space Invaders, it would probably look almost exactly like Space Invaders. You have lines of aliens coming down the screen. The music it's the same style, but it is different music. But man, other than the fact that one's an Atari Jaguar and one's modern looking, they look exactly the same. I mean, I would have thought that it was a port of the old game if I didn't know, rather than a new game. So, um, but that wasn't the only two. We had more. So let's move on to another one. Let's see.
All right.
One that I know very little about. Lilith Games is suing uCool, two companies I've never heard of, for copyright infringement over Heroes Charge, a game I've never heard of. Apparently,
And I'm right there with you.
Yeah, Lilith Games makes a game called Sword and Tower, and uCool makes a Heroes Charge, and one's suing the other for the other game because they look exactly the same. Now, in our comment section on Game Politics, someone posted a Facebook page, and I'll send you a link to it. I'll put it in the chat box here. If you go there are a bunch of what are apparently comparison screenshots of the two games, and they're obviously different games, but yeah, it looks like someone pretty much copied the other game, because it's one of those, yeah, you copied.
Well, let's see. I'm looking.
Project Ukulele, Santiago Cali. That's who they are. Thank you. The Rare developers making the Banjo-Kazooie thing. That's right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Yeah, these are very, very similar, and this is, just based on these screenshots, and these aren't like cherry-picked screenshots. Like that Sims lawsuit, the Sims mobile lawsuit, and a couple other ones where they like really dug into the games to find screens that looked almost similar enough that they could put these things in. This is not at all like that. These are like straight up. It's like screen 1, screen 2, screen 3, screen 4, screen 5. One right after another. This is the progression of both games, and they look almost the exact same.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I could definitely see where they're coming from. And I just watched the video for Heroes Charge, and no idea how the game actually plays, but it looks kind of interesting, and I might have to check out. This other Lilith Games game, if that's even available in the U.S. I don't even know.
Yeah, I think Sword and Tower. James, when he wrote the article, couldn't find anything about the game other than its website.
Yeah.
So, another copyright shenanigan that happened this week was Jim Sterling of the Jimquisition. Apparently has a series of videos where he looks at Steam Greenlight trailers for games that are on Steam Greenlight, and comments on them, probably usually making fun of them because they look like crap. So he made a video making fun of a game on Steam Greenlight called Skateman Intense Rescue. And
I love that name.
Yeah. And so the developer, Digpex Games, indie developer, hit him with a copyright strike. DMCA'd his video and got it taken down, which means that Sterling submits basically you submit you say no, I didn't, and then YouTube makes you watch this kind of condescending copyright is bad, okay, kind of cartoony video.
Yeah. I watched that just to see what it was at one point, and man, is it terrible. It's basically, it just goes down each bullet point of the MPAA and the RIAA's copyright no-no list. It has it leaves no room for fair use, no room for commentary, satire, parody, or anything. It's just like, if you even touch somebody else's work, you're a criminal.
Yeah.
It's very, very terrible.
So, essentially, Sterling's video is down for 14 days. The 14 days is supposed to give the person who issued the DMCA takedown time to decide whether they want to pursue legal action. They never do. This is apparently the third time Sterling has been hit with one of these things. And it comes across as just spiteful. It's like, I don't like what you said about my game, so I'm doing something to hurt you, or to at the very least inconvenience you, just because I can.
Yeah.
And Digpex Games, which I imagine is just one person, was very clear about that. He's just being spiteful. He knows that he has no case. He knows that this is just going to make him look bad. He's just lashing out and
Yeah.
blackening Sterling's eye as best he can.
Did you actually watch the video? Because somebody posted a
Yes,
repost of it on the Shoutbox. And
well, I watched the Greenlight trailer, and I think it's gone now. I think this game
the
disappeared
guy
off the.
pulled his Greenlight campaign, and he's basically disappeared from the internet with his game, and which is very interesting. But yeah, somebody had reposted Jim's video, and I watched it, and yeah, the game is just absolutely terrible, if it even is a game.
Yeah, it's weird. It's the trailer for the game has a frame rate of about 5 frames per second.
Something terrible like that. I don't even think the frame rate is consistent through the whole thing.
No,
and it's like all the dialogue is done through those text-to-speech programs on
and I can't
and online, and so it's like it's not even recorded human voices. It's a robotic voice that is converting text to speech, and it's terrible.
What's interesting is the game is so amazingly off the wall. It's the weirdest thing. You're like this guy on roller skates trying to save dogs from these muscle guys with peacock plumage on their backs. Which is just so weird and off the wall, where it's like, if this thing had a steady frame rate and I could understand what the hell the dialogue said, even if it didn't make any more sense than Sin and Punishment does, that could be just one of those, it's the most goofy thing in the world, you've got to play this, it's just so bonkers.
Man.
What gets me is that anyone would actually release a trailer for a game in that state.
Yeah,
it's mixed poorly. And most offensive of all is the far below 10 frames per second. I mean, it's got to be like 4 or 5.
It's really terrible. Like Jim commented several times during his little video that the video just looks like it wasn't even a game. Like nobody was actually playing it. It looked like he was modeling each frame in like 3ds Max or Unity or something, taking a snapshot and then modeling the next frame, and and then was poorly put together, and there's just so much that's so absurd with this thing. There's a random ocelot in the middle of a city.
Oh yeah.
The goal is to rescue dogs on skateboards, and the fact that the guy has roller skates on, and these aren't like roller blades or something. I just watched a Jackie Chan movie where it opens up with Jackie Chan in a rollerblade suit, escaping from a heavily armed guarded compound, riding a suit covered in rollerblades. Basically, it was the most off the wall thing I've ever seen Jackie Chan.
4-wheel roller skates.
But these are 90s 4-wheel roller skates and her 80s classic.
They're not inline. They're the 4-corner skates.
But yeah, and then there's the description of the enemies. They're basically, they can go through walls, they can fly, they can do a bunch of other random things, and to me it sounds like this guy couldn't figure out how to do proper collision detection. And so he just decided he's going to use those collision bugs as features for these bad guys. And he decided to do the roller skate thing because he couldn't figure out how to do a proper walk cycle, so he just put roller skates on the guy. And the same thing with the dogs. He couldn't figure out how to animate the dogs, so he put them on roller skateboards. And
and that's actually a genius. That's a really good idea. If you're an indie developer with very few resources and you're like, I cannot get a good walk cycle going to save my ass, put them on roller skates. Just move them. That's actually a really, really good idea. That's working within your means. That's taking what you have and running with. That's like, I can't animate the dogs. Put them on skateboards. 'Cause what the hell? But yeah, you're right. I'm wondering if this was actually ever a game either. And the thing with the enemies are they can phase through walls because I couldn't figure out collision, and they're sometimes invisible because I couldn't get them to render properly half the time. And they're sometimes invincible because I didn't write that part of the code. So
man. All this aside, DMCAing, a critic is just a totally, totally terrible move.
Yeah.
Because one, it makes you look bad because it makes it look like you can't take criticism at all. Two, it focuses more attention on what was said about your content rather than your content itself. And three, if your content truly is bad, it's going to put a lot of attention on how bad the content is, and you're just going to be screwed all around. And apparently, just like this guy was screwed all around, and he ended up taking his ball and going home, and leaving the internet behind. But yeah, it's just totally stupid move.
Yeah. So lastly this week, Andrew Greenberg, whose parents named him well, has been in a trademark battle over a trademark with, again, Atari since 2011. He has a game he's working on called Haunted House Tycoon, which is a name that immediately I'm like, oh, this I want to see. Because I think of things like, Roller Coaster Tycoon, and that for a haunted house, okay, I'm kind of interested. So where does Atari come in? Well, if you remember way back to the Atari 2600, there was a game called Haunted House. I probably I own it. I probably should have dug it out of my Atari box. But it would take me 5 minutes, so I'm not going to do that now. And it is a game where you are ostensibly a guy wandering through a house with a candle, trying to avoid bats and stuff. And it's rendered as just kind of an orange blob with eyeballs. That represents a guy in the dark with a candle, because that orange blob is the light around you. And when the light goes out, you're just a pair of eyes moving around, and you have to avoid bats and things. So I've looked at the Facebook page for Haunted House Tycoon, and it looks like pretty much what you would expect from a game called Haunted House Tycoon. This is one of those where I'm like, no, Atari, bad. I can kind of see what they're saying with the Tempest and TXK one. This one, no, they're just claiming that they own the idea of a haunted house. It's like, no one could ever use Haunted House, because they'll think of a game that, we haven't done anything with for 35 years.
Well, much like almost everything Atari's done.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really, this goes back to our Tempest conversation. It's like nobody who owns, invests in, or works at Atari today owned, invested in, or worked there 10 years ago, let alone 30 years ago. And so it's just these people are just trying to figure out how to make money off of whatever they can, and copyright and trademark lawsuits is the go-to thing for people who don't know how to actually use those copyrights and trademarks in the market. And seriously, it's like, how can you really claim a trademark on something that you haven't done anything with for 35 years? That just makes absolutely zero sense. That trademark should have been considered abandoned like 20 years ago at least. If they have not done anything with it since. It just doesn't make sense to me that you could hold a trademark for something that long. Especially Yeah, I haven't seen Haunted House in any Atari 2600 re-release pack. Like, I bought an Atari game pack for the PS1. It's like 20 Atari games. Haunted House wasn't in it. There's these Atari flashback consoles where it comes with like 60 Atari games built into it. Haunted House isn't in there. It's like it's not even a game that they're putting in bundle packs with other games in order to sell these combo packs. It's just
Yeah.
like, what's the point? It's like trying to claim a copyright on boxing because they released Atari Boxing on the 2600.
Yeah, it's like any golf game. Nintendo released golf for the NES. It'd be like Nintendo, you Tiger Woods, no EA, we own golf. You can't have a golf. People might confuse it with golf for the NES. I wonder if they had trademarked and claimed themselves over Mario Golf. It's like, I thought this was, although Mario was in golf. The golfer in NES Golf looks like Mario.
Yeah.
Mm.
But just a funny anecdote, to this whole story. I've actually had an idea running through my head for like several years now on a haunted house game, and I haven't actually put it into practice yet. But luckily, it doesn't sound anything at all like Haunted House Tycoon. So I might still run with it, and make it at some point. But yeah, it's basically a haunted house sim where you are the ghost and you're trying to scare the people out, but not. It's like there's a tricky balance. You got to scare the people out of the house, but not get them to the point of them trying to exorcise you by calling in the Exorcist or the Ghostbusters or something.
So it's kind of like the plot of Beetlejuice.
Yeah, exactly.
It actually sounds maybe a little bit like the Luigi's Mansion game in Nintendo Land.
Yeah, but also like Sim Ant, where in the story mode there's multiple ways to win the game, and one of them is to chase the people out of the house, and you don't even have to take over the entire house. You just have to take over enough of it in order to get the guy and his dog to run away. But yeah, definitely fun.
Make sure you call it, spooky residence or something instead of haunted house. But
I was planning on calling it House on Haunted Hill, but I think that's a movie.
That is a movie. That's a William Castle movie with why am I not remembering his name? Vincent Price. They also remade that several years ago, and I didn't see it, but I'm sure it sucks. Let's see. You like Dango?
What's that?
I'm looking at a comment from You Like Dango, who's a new name in our chat box. Hello. What year do you predict What year do we predict? What year do we predict politics will finally be able to comfortably assimilate with gaming culture? In other words, the majority of congressmen actively proclaiming they had gamed or are gamers. Well, considering that Brown v. EMA is a few years old now, there haven't been any renewed interest in regulating games from a legal perspective.
I think the last thing that really came by legislation-wise was a bill to fund video game research, like video game/violence research, and that was like 2 years ago. And that didn't even come up for committee hearings. So
it's been a couple of years since what's his name, Wolf, and the other guy were they did that cigarette pack style label on video games thing that they proposed,
it's been a long time since that.
Every year for a couple of years running, and that one never went anywhere because it's stupid. But we also frequently see a lot of Congress people being caught on camera, playing Tetris or.
And then you've actually got a few congressmen who are actually openly gamers. Jared Polis, is that Colorado? But he's openly a gamer. He plays WoW and a bunch of other games too, and he's very open about it. He's very friendly to the gaming community. But I think it's just going to be probably 10 years, and we won't hear anything about this anymore. It'll be like the D&D Satan worshipping scares of the '80s. So, it's just like it's going to go away that quickly, and well, yeah, I guess relatively quickly, but yeah, it's going to be about 10 years. You're going to get a good churn in Congress, not as much in the Senate, but definitely in Congress, and then a lot of states have term limits on their legislatures, so you get a lot of younger people in the legislature. I think, like in Oklahoma, a good like 50% of the entire legislative body is under the age of 40, I think. So it's not too bad. But yeah, so
Yeah. So we're already starting to see it, and yeah, won't be long before it's so damn normal that they'll have to pass rules. And now stop, everyone put your Nintendo whatevers away, and because we're having important government stuff going on right now. Pay attention, or
yeah.
put your phones away because they're probably playing on phones and laptops and stuff. And Z2400. You ever tried to develop games on Unity?
I have not. I've been tempted to download it every now and then, but it's just I'm really enjoying Hexflixel right now, and I just can't see myself using anything else at the moment. So yeah, maybe when I get that itch to try something new, I'll check it out, unless by that time something else has come out to replace it. But I don't see that happening for a while.
Yeah. Old School says, sounds like coming out of the closet, or being an open gamer, LOL. And that's true. It is kind of weird to think of a pastime that's so ubiquitous in American culture and many other cultures. Playing video games is something you have to own up to. It's like, dude, come on, everybody does it. And it's one of those weird things that you have to admit to. I've never, it's like weird. I mean, kind of like,
Yeah.
hello, my name is Andrew. Hi, Andrew, and I'm an alcoholic, and I'm a gamer.
Yeah.
And it's like, no one cares. It's like, yeah, everybody.
Yeah.
So what?
Well, and I think the fact that so many people in the world, not just the U.S. but the world, play video games, that nobody really cares that much about regulating video games in any way. Yes, you got the general, after a tragedy happens like at Sandy Hook, you've got a vast number of people with opposing viewpoints and stuff, and some will blame it on video games like the NRA did, while others will blame it on other aspects of society like guns or just general violence in the media and stuff like that. But yeah, I think we are reaching a saturation point with people who play games, that there's just not enough political capital in attacking video games at this point to make it worth it. And like we said several times, that that's you can see that in the fact that no serious legislation has been introduced in years.
Now, how long do you think it'll be before we are all one big happy family of gamers, no matter what types of games we like to play, rather than, people who play mobile games aren't real gamers, or people who play Facebook games aren't real gamers? It's like, oh yeah, well, you hardcore gamers are all assholes. That's what I'm looking forward to. Is
that will be interesting, because
all gamers are equal.
Yeah, that will be a wonderful time. We will. Basically, you're asking for a point in society where we are with movies right now. Where everybody watches movies, everybody watches television, nobody cares that you like watching romantic comedies and not action-packed gore fests. It's like nobody cares what type of movies you like. It's like, hey, what do you want to do on Saturday night? Let's go see a movie. All right, you're cool. It's like, nobody cares. It's like, oh, I don't want to go see a movie this weekend. It's like, okay, it's nobody's going to bash you for liking a particular movie.
Yeah, original Netflix shows aren't real television shows. You're a fake TV watcher.
Yeah. So yeah, I think the current generation of gamers who are dedicated and defensive of that, they're going to grow up and they're going to mature and they're going to realize how stupid they have been, and they're going to accept the fact that just because somebody else doesn't like to play Halo doesn't mean that they're a bad person. Just because they like to play mobile games, doesn't mean that they're a bad person. You're the bad person if you hate them and yell at them and make fun of them. And they're going to realize that at some point, whether they're 20 or 50 when they do. It's all the same. They're going to figure it out.
Yeah, teasing everyone. Teasing is fine. I mean, a friend of mine is more of a PlayStation guy and I'm more of a Nintendo guy, and we'll tease each other all the time about Nintendo versus Sony. But
and I tease people about their movies. It's like sure. You like Kung Pao Enter the Fist. It's like, what's wrong with you? You got a lobotomy earlier in your life.
I'm surprised how much support that actually got. I was like, where were all of you people 15 years ago?
To be honest, I have never watched Kung Pao Enter the Fist.
I had a lot of people in the comments going, people didn't like Kung Pao Enter the Fist? What? I'm like, yeah, it's got like a 10 or 11% on Rotten Tomatoes.
When I was in college, that was one of the go-to movies that the people in the group of people I associated with, that was one of their go-to movies to watch when they got together as a group. It was like that and Napoleon Dynamite and a couple of the other stupid funny movies. I watched Napoleon Dynamite and I was like, eh. And then they made a Napoleon Dynamite cartoon for some stupid reason, and then they turned the best punk frog from the Ninja Turtles into Napoleon Dynamite, and I just said, yeah, I think we've reached a saturation point with Napoleon Dynamite at this point.
Oh, that reminds me, we're pretty much done with the show. We're just kind of
yes, we are. We're just rambling at this point.
Last week I talked about American cartoons versus foreign cartoons, but mostly Japanese cartoons, and talking about how in Japanese cartoons anyone can die. Death is a possibility. Your lead characters can die. So Japanese cartoons, there's when the characters are in danger, there's an actual palpable sense of tension. Unlike in American cartoons, and I used Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as an example, the turtles are going to be fine. No one's going to, none of the turtles are going to die.
I know where you're going with this, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, and then this week, spoilers, bail out, if you read the Turtles comic, and you don't know what happens, shut off right now, because I'm going to spoil it. Okay. Donatello died.
He gets his shell kicked by Bebop and Rocksteady, and they literally curb stomp his shell.
They smash his shell with a sledgehammer, and he dies. Which is great. Well, it's not great because Donatello was always my favorite, but I just found it kind of funny because I had just a couple of days before used specifically Ninja Turtles. Now, I was talking about the cartoon, not the comic, but I was using that as an example of the Turtles never, and then Donatello up and dies.
Yeah. So since this is comic books, how long until Donatello comes back from the dead?
That's a good question. It's like, how are they going to bring it? Are they going to, what's the metal term? Metalhead, I think it's
Metalhead, yeah.
Are they going to make a Metalhead Mach 2? Transfer Donnie's brain into a Metalhead? I don't know.
There is speaking of that, I don't know if you ever watched the Ninja Turtles where they went into the future and was with April and Casey's grandson. But there was an episode in there where they like found April's journal and they were reading it to find out what happened to them after they got back from the future, and in it, Donatello ends up going off with the Utron and dies, and then they take his brain and put it inside a robot, which turns out to be the butler that has been helping the turtles out the whole time. And this is like the traditional uptight British butler type character, and he started freaking out. But I thought that was hilarious. But yeah, I don't think Donatello's going to be dead for long. There's I don't think the I'm
Throw
trying
some
to remember
mutagen on him, he'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the actual
Zombie Tello, yeah.
the actual publisher for the comic, but I think there's probably not going to be very much money in only 3 turtles for very long.
I mean that's we're missing out on a toy here. You bring him back right now. The question is, how many issues will he be dead, or is he even dead? Maybe he's just really
that's one of the things is a lot of people are like, he's probably not actually dead, because the panels that were revealed don't actually indicate that he's dead. He's just like super injured, and he's got like terrible shell damage. Maybe he's just paralyzed from the waist down, and he's going to be
so they're going to oracle him.
Yeah, they're going to oracle him. I think that's basically what he is at this point anyways, in pretty much every iteration of the Turtles, cartoon and comic book wise, but yeah, it's very interesting.
Well, what I really liked was the idea that Shredder, Team Shredder and Team Turtles were uniting against Team Krang, and Donnie's death was in retaliation for the Turtles betraying Shredder, rather than it's because it's like, oh, we're teaming up with the bad guys. The bad guys are obviously going to stab us in the back, but it was actually the other way around. I'm like, that's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah.
So
but speaking of cartoon deaths, I finally, after like 15 years, I finally watched the episode of The Simpsons where Maude Flanders dies. It's like I missed the episode when it originally aired, and I just never had the interest in going back to watching it. And then this week I was just like, you know what? I want to go see this, because I think one of the recent episodes kind of they referenced that episode, and I was like, you know what? I've never actually seen that episode. I'm going to go watch it, and it was a pretty decent episode. They handled it really well. They had Flanders' shaken faith handled pretty well, and I love the little montage of him going on several dates with different people, and it actually had Mrs. Krabappel in there, who, in recently he actually marries Edna Krabappel, whose voice actor died, and so she just kind of disappeared from the show. I think they killed her off in the show, just kind of off screen, since they really couldn't do anything with her in the show. But yeah, kind of interesting to see all that happening.
So Matthew's asking what we thought of the Batgirl cover, the variant Batgirl cover.
Yeah,
which
the one with the Joker.
Basically it had the Joker in his Death in the Family? No, the Killing Joke, right?
The Killing Joke, yeah.
In his Killing Joke, flowered shirt and hat garb, standing next to Batgirl with a gun.
Well, he wasn't really standing next to her. He was like,
well, he had his arm around
basically on her, arm over her with the gun in this hand, and then like pointing at her with this hand or something.
Yeah,
like that. And she's got the little.
And she has the red, it's blood or lipstick, smeared in a smile on her face, and she looks terrified and is crying.
And all that. Yeah.
So what did I personally think of the cover? I think it's gorgeous. I really, really like it. I think it's an incredibly well drawn.
Yeah.
And I think it is. It's gorgeous and it's evocative. It's something that puts the character in. I like that juxtaposition of her fear and terror and crying with a smile painted on her face. It's like, ooh. holy crap, Batgirl is in a hell of a place. I want to read this and see how she gets out of it. Unfortunately, it's a variant cover, and it has absolutely nothing to do with what happens in the
Yeah.
book. But as a single piece of art in and of itself, I think it's gorgeous. I really, really like it. Now,
yeah, as
what
a piece of
happened-
art, it looks really good. It's
Yeah.
a very well done piece of art. But
Now, what happened was the creative team behind it decided, and from what I understand, rightfully so, that it was tonally incongruous with what the current run of Batgirl actually is. So they decided to pull it and replace it with something else that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, based
And-
on my reading of the current run of Bat, I haven't read very much. I've read like a handful of pages that have been posted online, and it's very much like what Teen Titans was, like the original Teen Titans, that kind of themality and feel. But without all the exaggerated anime faces and stuff every now and then. But it's like that kind of thing. It's a very team drama / comedy, whatever type comic. So yeah, very different themes and tonality between that cover and what Batgirl actually is. But
Yeah.
as you were saying,
Yeah. I've not read the current run of Batgirl, but from what I understand, that's not the right cover for this particular run. So the creative team said, not working. Let's replace that. And of course, there were a cadre of people who said, censorship. Even though it's not censored, the art is still out there. You can go see it. It's gorgeous. They just decided that it wasn't right for this book.
Yeah, and the other big complaint, and this might have had something to do with their decision to pull it, was that it's the way that the art is done, the way that the Joker is holding her, and the way her face is, like how terrified she is, and the fact that she's crying. They're one of the major complaints is that they're taking a strong female hero and basically putting her back in damsel in distress, mode, and making her a helpless girl rather than a heroine. And so that's just one of the things, and I can understand it. I can understand that complaint, and I personally, I like it's very well done art, but it's not something I would hang on my wall as a poster, just because it's not something that really appeals to me. I like stuff that's more upbeat and stuff. But
I don't quite see it that way. But then again, straight white male, no frame of reference here. I've got I have lots of privileges. I checked. I don't see it that way because I see Batgirl terrified in an incredibly disempowered situation, but knowing Batgirl, I know she's going to get out of this. She's not a damsel in distress. She's not waiting for Batman to rescue her. She's going to, this is her book. She's going to get out of this herself.
But again,
I want to see that journey. But
again, with that in mind, yes, Batgirl is going to get out of it. Batgirl knows what she's doing. But the thing is with the comic, you don't really see that in her expression. You don't see that confidence. You don't see that trying to figure out what I need to do in order to escape this situation. You just see her looking helpless and terrified. And I think that was one of the things, it's like what you described as what Batgirl is does not match how they portrayed her in that comic or in that cover, and that was I think that's where I was going with my
sure. But I like it when characters are not just young female characters, but any characters are vulnerable and can be in that low position because that gives them a long way to go and makes their eventual triumph that much more satisfying. But I can see why, especially the audience that this run of Batgirl is targeting, could. This cover is not for that audience. It's the wrong cover for this particular run of the book. And
I think I think doing something like that, might have doing something like this cover, but done differently, might have been better, more well received. The reason they did this cover is because they're doing a lot of, they're basically every Batman and Batman associated comic book is getting a Joker themed cover,
Mm-hmm.
variant cover,
The Wonder
and
Woman one sucks.
yeah, and so, I think they still could have done something where, shown a fight between the Joker and Batgirl. Maybe doing a scene where, the Joker had just knocked down Batgirl. She's on her back, and he's got his giant mallet, and ready to smash her, but she's reaching for something in her belt. That might have been a little, it still puts her in danger, but it makes her look like, yes, she knows she's in danger, but she has something to get herself out of it.
Yeah, there's another one where she's like got a bloody lip, and she's like wiping the blood, and it kind of wipes up into a Joker smile.
Yeah.
That one's that one's definitely that kind of tone. That okay, you got me, but I'm getting right back up and going to give it back to you twofold. One thing they might have tried with that particular cover is just flip Joker and Batgirl around. Uh,
Well,
that would have been really. I mean, it probably has absolutely nothing to do with the book, but then neither did the other one. It could be an interesting look, seeing Batgirl kind of threatening the Joker, and the Joker being like, "This is not funny at all. Let me go, creepy girl."
I don't know.
Did you see? Go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
did you see the Wonder Woman one?
no, I didn't actually.
The Wonder Woman one has Wonder Woman and Joker kind of tangoing. But the Joker is holding a bomb behind her back. The problem, which is fine, the problem I have with that particular one is Wonder Woman looks bored. I think it's just a bad drawing because I'm not getting defiant. I'm not getting bored. I'm getting just no expression and bored. Like she's been drugged or hypnotized or something.
Yeah, I see this, and they've got the Joker's suit where it like blends in with the background and everything. So all you really see is his hands from the cuff up, and his head, his vest and cummerbund, and his flower, and then the bomb behind him. And yeah, it's a really stupid cover. I think it's really stupid. Just in general.
Yeah.
Really, you don't get the feel that this is the Joker. This is something he would do, and you don't get the feel that this is Wonder Woman, and it's something that she would do.
Yeah, it's just kind of weird. The staging, I don't think totally works, and the biggest problem I have really is Diana has absolutely no expression on her face. I don't know if it was the intention that she was like drugged or hypnotized or something, but she just looks
But then you juxtapose, you compare this to the Batgirl cover, and really, with Batgirl, you get Batgirl is completely terrified, because she's in the presence of the Joker, while Wonder Woman's just kind of nonchalant, just like whatever. I deal with this kind of crap every day. Why are you even bothering me?
Nonchalance maybe what they were going for, but it just looks kind of not paying attention or bored. That's kind of what I'm getting out of it. Anyway,
it's like she looks like she's just like, oh, what's that on the back of my hand?
It's like I need to read file my emery. I need an emery board here. I've got a hangnail. So so we've got new people popping up. This podcast was supposed to be done over an hour ago, and we've had 3 or 4 new people pop in. Hi guys.
Yeah, we finished our last topic like 20 minutes ago. So.
Yeah. So Kaganeka-sama, Delirical One. Who else popped in late? There was someone
Halberdier.
Oh, Hal popped in, yeah. But I think we're gonna pop out now because this show's long enough. So let us plug our stuff and go. Andrew Eisen here. Last name is Eisen. Plug it into YouTube and you'll find all my cool videos. My next video, really long script, so that's a lot to memorize. So probably not going to have that until later in the week or next weekend. Also, I'm in the middle of finding a new place to live, so yeah, that's tough. But anyway, lots of stuff on YouTube to watch. And YouTube keeps recommending I watch my own videos. I'm not sure if if YouTube knows what I like, or if it's like, look at what you've done. Look at what you've done. You should be ashamed of yourself. So look at this. Anyway,
Yeah.
Twitter at Andrew Eisen, Facebook Andrew Eisen Facebook, and hang out with us at Game Politics. We're there every day. So Zachary, plug away.
All right, you can follow me on Twitter at EZKnight, and you can also follow my game development work. It's DK_gaming on Twitter. It's DivineKnightGaming.com. I am currently working on some stuff for release next week, and it's not going to be anything big, but after next weekend, I'm going to make it publicly available on the Ouya and also on for download. It's just some fun stuff that I've worked on over the past year or so, and some stuff that I'm currently working on. But you can check those out, and if you're interested in the Oklahoma game development scene, check out OK Game Devs on Twitter and okgamedev.com. I haven't posted a lot lately, and that's mostly because of the baby, but I'm going to be starting up more articles over the next couple of weeks, so check out that stuff. Definitely some fun games coming out of Oklahoma. So there you go.
All right. You've been listening to Super Podcast Action Committee, episode 136. We're a weekly podcast. We stream live every Saturday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and as our international viewers just found, we had daylight savings last week, so stupid daylight savings. We all hate it too. Arizona, and I think half of one other state, like Illinois.
Well, Hawaii doesn't do it.
Hawaii doesn't do it. Arizona doesn't do it. I think there's half of another state that doesn't do it. The enlightened ones. Stupid. Anyway, if you can't make our show, we do. It's recorded. It's on my YouTube channel. I make an audio version that should be available Monday. So check Game Politics for that. And in the meantime, you can send us mail at superpackpodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at superpackpodcast. Subscribe and rate us on iTunes, and like us on Facebook. So we will see you right back here next week with episode whatever the next number is, 137. So take care. Bye.
All right. See ya.